Ethan deserves the truth before he marries someone else today. Security, remove her immediately from this ballroom right now.
You knew about my own children for 5 years?
I protected this family the only way I knew how.
The doors of the Ashford Grand Hotel ballroom swung open at exactly 4:47 in the afternoon, and 200 guests turned as one. The string quartet stopped mid-note. A waiter froze with a tray of champagne halfway to a table. At the altar, dressed in a black tuxedo, a ring already between his fingers, stood a man the whole city knew by one name: Ethan Cho, billionaire, CEO of Cho Horizon Group, the most eligible man in Chicago, 30 seconds away from marrying someone else. But nobody was looking at the bride anymore. They were looking at the woman standing in the doorway, gray coat catching the late afternoon light, a small hand held tight in each of hers. 2 5-year-old children stood beside her, matching brown eyes wide and searching the crowd, eyes that, if anyone in that room had looked closely enough, belonged to the groom. The woman's name was Simone Wright. She had not come to watch a wedding. She had come to stop one. "Ethan," she said, her voice steady despite the sea of stares, "I need 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Every camera phone in the room turned toward her at once. Before this goes any further, hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from tonight. Near the front row, a woman in a cream-colored suit rose from her seat. Her face had gone pale, then hard like stone settling into place. Her name was Helena Cho, Ethan's mother, and the only person in that ballroom who was not surprised to see Simone Wright standing there. "Security," Helena said quietly. "Remove her." 2 guards started forward. Simone did not step back. She knelt slightly, one hand still holding her daughter's, and whispered something to the little girl beside her. The child reached into a small backpack and pulled out a folded photograph, torn cleanly in half years ago, its edges soft from being touched too many times. Simone held up her half for the room to see. "You told me he didn't want us," she said, her eyes fixed on Helena. "You told me he chose the company over me. Over them." She glanced down at her children. "I believed you. For 5 years I believed you." The bride at the altar, a woman named Isabel Grant, turned slowly, confusion breaking across her face. Ethan set the ring down on the altar rail. His hands were shaking. "Simone," he said, and the word came out broken, like something long buried finally cracking the surface. "You're supposed to be gone. My mother said." "Your mother lied," Simone said. "To both of us. 5 years earlier none of this seemed possible." Ethan Cho had been 29 years old, already running half of his father's company, exhausted from a life built entirely around other people's expectations. He met Simone Wright at a small bakery 3 blocks from his office, the only place in the city where nobody called him Mr. Cho. She was 25 then, sharp-tongued and warm-eyed, working double shifts to save for her own pastry shop. She had no idea who he was for almost a month. He liked that most of all. They fell in love the way people do when nobody is watching, slowly, then suddenly overshared coffee at odd hours and long walks when he should have been in meetings. She teased him about his driver waiting outside like a parked shadow. He teased her about burning the same tray of croissants every single Tuesday. Neither of them ever mentioned it to a single person at work, because for the first time in his adult life, Ethan Cho had something that belonged only to him, untouched by boardrooms or headlines. 8 months later they married quietly at a small courthouse, telling no one, promising each other they would announce it properly once Ethan found the right way to tell his mother. He never got the chance. Helena Cho found out on her own. She arrived at Simone's apartment on a gray October morning, alone, and made herself very clear. The Cho family had spent 3 generations building a name that opened doors across 2 continents. She would not watch her son throw it away on a woman from the wrong side of that door. She offered Simone a check first. Simone tore it in half without opening the envelope. So Helena tried something else. She told Simone that Ethan agreed the marriage had been a mistake, that he was ashamed, that he wanted it to disappear quietly, that continuing would cost him everything he had worked for. She showed Simone a signed annulment letter with Ethan's signature on it. A signature Simone would later learn had never actually come from his hand. Simone left that night. She told herself she was protecting him from a decision he was too weak to make himself. She did not yet know she was carrying his children. By the time she found out 6 weeks later, every call she placed to Ethan's office went nowhere. Every letter she mailed disappeared. She never learned that none of them ever reached him at all. Back in the ballroom, Ethan crossed the space between them in 6 long strides, guests parting around him like water. He stopped an arm's length from Simone, his eyes moving from her face to the 2 children still gripping her hands. "They're mine," he said. It wasn't a question. Something in his chest already knew, had maybe always known. In the quiet places he never let himself examine. "Noah and Nora," Simone said softly. "They turned 5 in March." Behind them, Helena's voice cut through again, tighter now, edged with panic she was trying to hide as authority. "This is absurd. Ethan, this woman clearly wants something. Do not let her turn your wedding into a scene." "She already did," Marcus Bell said, stepping out from the crowd near the groomsmen. He was Ethan's oldest friend, his chief legal counsel, and the only person in the room who had never fully trusted Helena's version of events 5 years ago. "Maybe we should hear her out. Somewhere private." Isabel Grant, still standing at the altar in white silk that suddenly felt like a costume in someone else's play, wiped her eyes and nodded once. "Go," she said quietly. "You need to hear this." Ethan led Simone and the twins through a side door into a private drawing room, Helena following close behind, her heels striking the marble floor like a countdown. Marcus shut the door behind them, sealing out 200 guests and a wedding that would never resume. Inside, Ethan finally exhaled. He crouched down to the children's height, the way a man does when he wants to be smaller than his own fear. "Hi," he said quietly to Noah and Nora. "I'm Ethan." Nora studied him with unimpressed 5-year-old seriousness. "Mommy has half a photo of you," she said. "You look happier in it." Something in Ethan's chest cracked wide open. If you've ever had to fight to be believed, stay with me, subscribe now because what Simone reveals next changes everything. Simone reached into her bag and set a thin folder on the table between them. "I tried to reach you," she said. "For years. Phone records. Certified letters returned unopened. A lawyer's letter I sent to your office when Noah was 2, asking only for a paternity acknowledgement. Nothing else, no money, nothing but his name on paper in case he ever needed it." She looked at Helena. It came back 3 weeks later with a note. "Returned to sender. No such recipient." Ethan opened the folder with shaking hands. Copies of letters he had never seen. A certified mail receipt signed, not by him, but by an assistant who had worked exclusively for his mother. He looked up at Helena. "You signed for these." Helena's composure finally slipped. "I was protecting this family." "You were protecting yourself," Marcus said quietly, already scrolling through something on his phone. "I pulled the internal mail logs while we were walking in here. Every piece of correspondence addressed to Ethan from a Simone Wright. Redirected to your office, 5 years running." The room went silent except for the soft rustle of Nora, bored now, tracing shapes on the drawing room rug with her finger. Ethan sat down slowly, the folder trembling slightly in his hands. 5 years of a life he thought he understood rearranged itself in front of him. The mother he trusted, the woman he still, somewhere underneath the anger and grief, had never stopped loving, the 2 small people watching him with his own eyes. "You told me she left for a payout," he said quietly. "You told me she chose money over me." "I told you what you needed to hear," Helena said. "So you could move forward." "You lied to your own son," Simone said. "So he would never come looking for the family you erased." Later that evening, after Helena had been asked, firmly by her own son, to leave the estate, Ethan sat on the drawing room floor across from Noah, a small wooden puzzle between them that Marcus had found somewhere in a forgotten guest room. "Mommy says you build hotels," Noah said, snapping 2 puzzle pieces together with fierce concentration. "I do," Ethan said. "Can you build a hospital instead? A really good one?" Ethan's hand stilled. "Why a hospital, buddy?" Simone, standing in the doorway, answered before Noah could. "He has a heart condition," she said quietly. "A hole that didn't close the way it should have. He needs surgery soon, a specific procedure, a surgeon who's only taken 3 cases like his in the country. I've been trying to get an appointment for 8 months. The waiting list is 2 years long. Ethan looked at his son, small and focused and utterly unaware of how much weight had just landed in the room. I own the hospital where that surgeon operates, he said quietly. I sit on its board. Simone's eyes filled, and for the first time since walking through those ballroom doors, her composure broke. I didn't come here for that, she whispered. I know, Ethan said. That's exactly why I'm going to do it anyway. But Helena was not finished. 3 days later, a lawyer representing the Cho family estate contacted Simone directly, requesting a private paternity test for the family's legal protection, along with a non-disclosure agreement that would have barred Simone from ever publicly acknowledging Ethan as the twins' father, in exchange for a settlement large enough to change her life. Simone refused before the lawyer finished the sentence. Meanwhile, an anonymous account began posting online, claiming Simone Wright was a known opportunist who had targeted wealthy men before, attaching blurry, cropped photos designed to suggest a story that had never happened. Marcus traced the account within 6 hours. It led back to a burner phone registered to Helena's personal assistant. Ethan confronted his mother that night in her penthouse office, the same office where, 5 years earlier, she had quietly buried every trace of the family he never knew he had. I raised you to protect this company, Helena said. You raised me to protect the wrong thing, Ethan said. I have 2 children who needed their father for 5 years, and a woman who protected them alone the entire time, and you tried to erase all of it twice. I'm done letting you decide who my family is. What Marcus finds next is worse than anyone expected. Subscribe now and stay with me. You won't want to miss this. Marcus found it 2 nights later, buried in an old filing cabinet in Helena's private office archive. A folder Helena had never expected anyone to open. Inside was a private investigator's report, dated 4 years earlier. Photographs of Simone pushing a double stroller through a park in another state. School enrollment records for Noah and Nora. A handwritten note in Helena's own writing. Confirm biological connection. Monitor. Do not engage unless necessary. Helena had known. Not for months. For years. She had known about the twins almost since their birth, had quietly tracked them, had made absolutely certain Simone never came close enough to disrupt the life Helena had built for her son, a life with mergers and photographs in business magazines and a bride selected, in part, for the alliance her family's company could offer. And buried at the bottom of the folder was something even Marcus had not expected: bank statements showing monthly transfers into an account under Simone Wright's name, beginning the year the twins were born and continuing every month since. Money Simone had never once touched, never even known existed, sent quietly by Helena to ease her own guilt without ever having to face the woman she had wronged. There was one more document. A second, older investigator's file, water-stained, dated over 30 years earlier. A different young woman's name on it. A different signature that matched Helena's handwriting exactly. Ethan's father had once loved someone before Helena, too. Helena had done this before. Ethan stared at the folder for a long time before he finally spoke. How many families have you erased to protect this one? Helena said nothing at all. The following week, at an emergency meeting of the Cho Horizon Group board, Ethan stood at the head of the table his mother had once ruled from and laid the entire file in front of the directors. The intercepted letters, the surveillance reports, the buried hush money, 30 years of a pattern no one had ever questioned. My mother built this company, he said. She also nearly destroyed my family to protect its image. Both things are true. The board voted unanimously to remove Helena Cho from all operational authority, retaining her only as a non-voting board emeritus. A quiet, permanent step back from the power she had wielded like a weapon for 3 decades. Helena did not fight the vote. Something in her, finally confronted with the full weight of what she had done, seemed to fold inward rather than resist. I only ever wanted to protect you, she told Ethan afterward, quietly, in the empty boardroom. I know, Ethan said. That's what makes it so hard to forgive. He did not forgive her that day. He did not pretend to. But 3 weeks later, Noah underwent successful heart surgery at Cho Horizon Medical Center, performed by the specialist Ethan had personally flown in from overseas. Simone sat beside Ethan in the waiting room for 6 hours, neither of them speaking much, both of them holding a small, worn photograph, torn cleanly down the middle, reunited, for the first time in 5 years with its missing half. If this story moved you even a little, tap that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. 6 months later, Ethan stood beneath a cherry blossom tree in the same small park where he had first told Simone he loved her. 7 years earlier. Back when he was just a tired man who liked a bakery 3 blocks from his office. Noah and Nora chased petals across the grass nearby. Noah's chest scar healing clean beneath his shirt, his laugh loud enough to carry across the whole park. Simone approached slowly, her half of the torn photograph in one hand. Ethan held up his half, the piece he had kept hidden in his desk drawer for 5 years, unable to throw it away no matter how much his mother insisted he move on. He pressed the 2 halves together. The tear lined up perfectly, like it had never really been broken at all, just waiting for someone brave enough to bring both pieces back to the same place. "I'm not asking you to forget 5 years," Ethan said quietly. "I know I can't undo what my mother did, or the years you spent raising them alone. I'm not asking you to fix it either," Simone said. "I'm just asking you to stay. This time actually stay. Every day," Ethan said. "For as long as you'll let me." For the first time since walking through those ballroom doors, Simone let herself smile completely. Not guarded, not bracing for another lie, just quietly fully happy. Above them, the cherry blossoms kept falling, slow and soft, like the ending neither of them had dared to hope for. Some people spend their whole lives trying to protect their family by controlling everyone in it. But real love was never something Helena Cho could manage or hide, or send back marked return to sender. It waited, quietly, stubbornly, for 5 long years, in a torn photograph, in 2 children with their father's eyes, and in a mother who never once stopped believing that the truth would eventually find its way home. Thank you for watching this story all the way to the end. If it moved you, made you feel something real, hit subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss the next one. This channel, Empire City Romance Stories, is built entirely around stories just like this. Drop a comment and tell me, if you were Ethan, could you have forgiven your mother? I'll see you in the next story.